Good evening, America. I'm Alexander George, Trippy III, and this is Grace and Valerie. Welcome to this edition of Keeping Up with the Bulldogs.
During our short time together, we will be exploring the time period from 1095 to 1204, in which the Crusades had the biggest impact on the Byzantine Empire.
We will first have Mr. Alexander George Trippy III lead us back to the significance of Jerusalem and the economy of the Byzantine Empire. Alex, who did it seem had the most power?
The Patriarch of Constantinople, it seemed, had more power than the other patriarchs for their respective places. When Charlemagne was the new Roman Empire, it set him with even more power than the other ones.
Were there any significant places people could go to pay their respects and who they believed in?
Yes, in fact there was. The first church built in Jerusalem was a large basilia, and it was where Jesus was buried. The church was considered the center of life in Jerusalem. So, the religion practiced in Jerusalem was the main significance to the Byzantines. When the Seljuk Turks took over Jerusalem and the Holy Lands, the Byzantines sought aid to take it back, thus requesting help from Eurasia, or the Europeans.
Thanks, Alex. Let's get Grace in here.
Hi, Alex! That was some great information you just gave us, but I do have one question about the economy for you.
First, let me give you a little background information. In the Byzantine, the economy was a huge part of how they lived. The source of trade and economy was through Constantinople.
What was Constantinople famous for?
Constantinople was a city that was famous for luxury items such as silk fabrics woven in Constantinople and workers such as jewelers, goldsmiths, ivory carvers, and other craftsmen made great artistic works. Also, architecture, painting, and glassware were also very popular. Not to mention, there were many places, palaces, churches, cloisters, that were waiting for visitors when they got there. Figuratively, of course. From the famous city of Constantinople, merchants sold silks from China from the famous Silk Road. All silk buying and selling would take place on this very famous place. With every great succession, there is also a fall. Constantinople had one of these. It all started with population lowering to 50,000 people. The main reason was the Ottoman conquest. This was a monopoly that was on the rise, which meant less action and trade in Constantinople, ultimately resulting in a downfall and the fall.
Wow, Trippy, thank you for sharing this information about how the thriving economy of the Byzantine Empire fell due to the attacks from the Ottomans.
You're welcome. Now let's hear about the economic, religion, and social forces.
Hi, Grace.
Hi, Valerie.
I'm so excited to hear about all these interesting facts.
To start off, let me give you a little background information on this empire. Byzantium, or the Eastern Roman Empire, was built by the Emperor Constantine, who used Roman political concepts, Greek culture, and the Christian faith to unite the people. As Trippy explained, Constantinople was the center of trade of Eastern Europe and was famous for its luxury items. Their trade included items from Egypt, India, China, Western Europe, and Southeast Asia. The church's effect on the people increased during the Byzantine Empire and influenced the people's daily lives. Over time, however, there was a growing divide between the Roman and Byzantine churches. Latin was spoken in the Roman churches, while Greek was spoken in the Byzantine churches. These differences eventually led to a great schism that divided the Roman Catholics from the Eastern Orthodox people. Now let me present in depth the causes of the Crusades. The religious differences between the Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox contributed to the Crusades. The First Crusade was launched when the Seljuk Turks threatened Constantinople, and the emperor asked for help from Pope Urban in the west. Urban responded by calling for a crusade to take back the Holy Land from Islam. This marked the beginning of a decline in the power of the empire. The Pope also gave crusaders a religious motivation, promising that if they died, God would forgive their sins. As the religious causes of the Crusades was one main reason why the kingdom fell. In addition, there were economic factors that also led to the Crusades. As Trippy informed you, by the time of the Crusades, the Byzantine Empire was not as strong as it once was. It had been weakened by attacks from the Seljuk Turks, the impact of the plague, and a stagnant agricultural economy. Merchants and others saw the Crusades as an opportunity to open up new trade routes, while the Crusaders were motivated not only by religious reasons, but also by opportunity to keep what they plundered. Lastly, there were social and political factors involved as well. The Pope saw the Crusades as an opportunity to stop the expansion of Islam and expand his power by bringing the Greek Orthodox Church under the influence of the Roman Catholic Church. Peasants who joined the Crusades saw them as a way to escape poverty in Europe's overcrowded cities. The young sons of European nobles who couldn't get land in the West saw the Crusades as an opportunity to acquire land in the East and enhance their social status. This shows that there were three main causes to the fall of the Roman Empire. The fall of this empire led to the great atrocities from the Byzantine citizens. Next, I'd like to discuss the impact of the Crusades on the Byzantine Empire. The main goal of the Crusades was to spread Christianity through Europe and reclaim Jerusalem. By the Fourth Crusade, the Crusaders reached Constantinople. When the Byzantine leaders refused to pay their transport costs, the Crusaders attacked and plundered the city, which became one of the world's worst atrocities. They destroyed the beautiful city, killing all who opposed them, raping thousands of women, and treating the Eastern Orthodox Christians as their enemy. The Byzantine Empire fell due to destruction and consumption by the Crusaders.
What?
In 330,
The Emperor Constantine had rebuilt the Greek city of Byzantium and renamed it Constantinople.
in 527 through 565,
The Byzantine Empire reached its greatest size under the Emperor Justinian.
in 1095,
The Pope first called for the Europeans to take back Jerusalem.
in 1096,
The Byzantine Emperor Alexius felt threatened by the Turks and asked Pope Urban II to send Christian knights to help fight them. In 1096, the thousands of knights and ordinary men and women were on the march to take back the Holy Land.
the First Crusade as well started.
Christian knights finally captured Jerusalem, and they also set up Christian kingdoms along the coast of present-day Israel and
11th
Lebanon.
century.
Byzantium was no longer the power that it was. Late 11th century, the Seljuk Turks invaded the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine leaders refused to help pay their transport costs, causing the European to invade and sack the Orthodox Christian city of Constantinople, the capital of Byzantine Empire.
1204.
The Fourth Crusade.
Constantinople was
sacked, and Constantinople was taken over by the Western Crusaders. What is the perceptions of other individuals of groups in Byzantine Empire?
The Byzantine Empire mostly believed in Christianity, but instead of having Latin as their language of the Byzantine Church, they used the language Greek. There are three different groups besides the Byzantine Empire. There are the Palestinian Jews, the European Crusaders, and the Arab Muslims. First, we have the Palestinian Jews, which the Byzantine never had any issues with, as they usually agreed with one another. Then we have the European Crusaders, who believed in Christianity, just like the Byzantine Empire. They used to always agree with each other until the Fourth Crusader, which happened at 1202 to 1204. It started when the Byzantine leaders refused to help pay their transport costs, causing the Europeans to invade and sack the Orthodox Christian city of Constantinople, capital of the Byzantine Empire. This is when the Byzantine Empire was taken over by the Western Crusaders, and they had become enemies. Lastly, there were the Arab Muslims, who the Byzantine Empire wanted to destroy, as they both believed in different religions. The Muslims were also the ones that extended their power over the Holy Land to prevent Christians from entering, which created much trouble for the Byzantine Empire. Stop it.
It's error. Wow, thanks guys. Those were some great facts.